Good afternoon, everybody. It's Kate from APPA here, and welcome to APPA's first webinar, 7 Reasons Why Marketing Fails and How to Prevent It by Quicksell MAS+. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. You're listening in using your computer speaker system by default. If you prefer to join over the phone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. You'll have the opportunity to submit text questions to Cliff by typing them into the questions pane on the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time and we'll collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. If we don't have time to get through all the questions, we'll record them and Cliff will answer them in writing after the webinar, and we'll send it to you when we send you a copy of the recording. To give you a brief introduction on today's speaker, Cliff Quicksell Jr., MAS+, MASI, has been involved in the promotional products and sportswear industries for the past 34 years. He's been actively involved in PPAI, our sister association in the USA, serving on various committees as a facilitator at all PPAI and ASI shows, and as a member of PPAI's Ambassadors Speakers Bureau for over 15 years. For more than 29 years, Cliff has been speaking, training and consulting internationally, including in Australia several times, to associations and national business groups on more effective ways to market themselves and their products and services, as well as how to motivate their personnel. Cliff has been the proud recipient of numerous awards. Recognised by PPAI for creativity, he's won the prestigious PPAI Pyramid Award for Creative Marketing Campaigns 25 times. I'll now hand over to the man himself, Cliff Quicksell. Welcome, Cliff.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate it. Thanks to everyone that is on the call. It's been a long time since I've been in Australia and New Zealand. When I was there, I loved it. I loved the people. I miss being there, but I'm really happy to be a part of APPA and being able to present this webinar and some of the articles and whatnot that I'm presenting for your newsletter that comes out monthly. And I'm very excited about this. I know this is the first in the Australasian market of webinars, and I'm proud to be doing this from the States. And I think this is going to be, really, really exciting. As Kate had mentioned, the seminar today, or the webinar, is on 7 reasons why marketing fails and how to prevent it. And I want to do a little precursor, if I can. Many of you that may be on this call have heard me speak at Expo. You may have heard me speak at the APPA show. But I'm a very big proponent about how we as an organization, we as an industry globally, have this amazing opportunity to work with our customers on such a different level than we normally do. I think what happens, and I've seen it, all over the world, in Australasia, in Europe where I've spoken, in the US and Canada, the big issue is sometimes we get relegated to doing the same thing over and over again. We do our idea of marketing our company sometimes is just, sending a product in and crossing our fingers and praying that someone's going to say, yeah, I love that, send me 10,000 of those. And that's great, but there's so many more opportunities that we have. And, what I see is that, and I mean this in the most professional way, sometimes we squander these opportunities and that we're not taking the time to really market ourselves professionally so that people see who we are for what we really are and what we really could be. Interestingly enough, a couple of years back, the PPAI, our International Trade Association here in the States, they did I guess it was more of a survey for chief marketing officers around the country. And they asked the question, when you think of promotional products, what comes to mind? What words are conjured up? And it was a real interesting grouping of words. It was trinkets, trash, tchotchkes, landfill, doodads, hunks of hell, spiffs, spoofs, and gimmies. These negative terms that they use for the products that we have. And, it really led me to try to look at things a little bit different, which leads me into this whole thing about how we market ourselves. We market ourselves sometimes as the people that have the stuff that you can give away at a trade show. But I'm here to tell you that there is more. And hopefully, working with APPA, I will be able to do some additional webinars for you that will just really shed some more detailed light on how we can take the tools that we have, the products that we have, and how do we meld those with innovative themes. How do we create schemes that are unique and different and that really resonate with an audience, where you can actually get paid for your creative time and the things that you bring to the table. So that was just a little bit of a precursor of what I wanted to share with you today, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Now, today, our introduction, I want to talk about some of the pitfalls that we have when it comes to traditional marketing. And in that, I want to also share with you the prevention tactics, how to avoid these pitfalls, because there are 7 key things that most marketers fail to do, and fail to do successfully. And if you understand what the pitfall is and then how to prevent it, it definitely will help. We're going to talk a little bit about developing a sound message and what a protocol that you can put in place to make sure that things run smoothly. Knowing what the clients really want, what their desires are beyond what we may think they are. What is it exactly that clients are looking for? And then we're going to talk about creating a timeline for the best success. And also remember that with marketing, it is about testing. And some things, without a doubt, are out of your control. So number one, what's the number one thing? These are not necessarily the number one thing through the number 7 things. It's just 7 basic rules. But number one, using the wrong message for the audience. Sometimes we'll take and we create this messaging where we're targeting, and what happens is the message that we're putting together doesn't resonate with the audience. And I'm a big fan of making sure that we do ample research. In fact, I'm a firm believer in developing markets that are both strategically vertical or lateral. And what I mean by that is a vertical market would be a certain category, like for instance, telecommunications might be a vertical market. Hospitality is another vertical market. The beer and wine industry or the liquor industry may, although it's a subset of hospitality, it may be yet another vertical market. So it doesn't make sense for us to create a marketing theme or whatnot that would resonate with, let's say, an HR director, but it really has a theme that's geared towards a marketing director. So it is really critical in terms of prevention tactics to make sure that we do ample research. We know the market. We break our markets down. Now, when I consult here in the U.S. and in Canada, we have constant contact, and we have different various tools that we can use. Instead of just sending broadcast emails or e-blasts to people that just, here's a product that we have on special, we really want to make sure that the message that we're trying to communicate resonates with that audience. So we will actually break down our client list by these vertical markets. And so whatever the messaging that we're trying to convey to that particular audience will definitely resonate. If it's a sales manager, we want to understand what is their pain point. Sales managers want to be able to open doors of opportunity. They want to be able to create that opportunity so that they can have that conversation. So something that would resonate with an HR director about, whatever the case may be. It might be for a diversity issue, or it may be on retaining employees, would not be the right message to send to a sales manager. So we want to make sure that the message is targeted specifically to the audience. And this is knowing the audience, knowing their market, being able and doing that through ample research and identifying the pain point. When we can create marketing that resonates, and also not only resonates, but really touches the audience in such a way that it kind of targets a pain point in the audience, you have a significantly greater opportunity of getting that person to understand and to engage with you at that level. It is really very, very important. Now, the next question is, And the next point is not having a proper protocol. Now, what do we mean by protocol? I just had a conversation with one of my clients today, and we were talking about how ineffective this trade show that they had done with their follow-up. They had a great strategy to move forward, to go to the trade fair, talk to the people, but coming back, they had no protocol. They had no set parameters on how they were going to reach out to the people. 3 weeks later, they still haven't followed up with the people at the show. And what happens is they lose these people. So you have to create a system. So when we start talking about marketing, when we start talking about a system, what is that system? How are we going to reach out to people? Now, this could be on twofold. If we're dealing with our current clients, and we need to be marketing to our current clients on a regular basis as well, what is the protocol? What is the implementation? How are we going to deliver that? How are we going to follow through? How are we going to measure the effectiveness of that marketing piece? And I will tell you that this is a big, major issue. I can't speak in the Australasian market, but I can tell you for a fact, in the U.S. market, measuring is a critical factor. And if you do not have a protocol in place or some type of metrics built in place on how you're going to be able to measure the effectiveness of the marketing, it's going to fail. Now, a lot of the things that we talk about here today are things that you should be doing for yourself. But these are the things that translate to your customer as well. When we start looking at working with customers, making a difference, setting ourselves apart, there's a lot of people out there that are flogging product. There's no question. They're just pushing product. But customers today, I believe, are expecting a higher level. Their expectation level is higher. And when you can take yourself out of that game of just being a product-based person and can show them, like through protocols, creating systems, these are the things that really make a huge difference. So when you do not have a protocol or you don't have a system that you're following, everything kind of falls apart. Most times, most of the times, they just kind of fall apart. So it's really important that you have this system in place. Now, when it comes to marketing, for instance, I do a lot of the dimensional creative marketing, where we do three-dimensional marketing that involves creative packaging, some type of promotional merchandise or product inside. It has a creative theme, really spot-on graphics, and everything that kind of resonates to the pain point of the audience. We have had major successes with our marketing. We do not send out pens and rulers and T-shirts and bumper stickers and things of that nature and notepads just to do that. Now, that's all about the branding side, and that's okay. But if you really want something to resonate with an audience, it really has to have impact. And we work really diligently at creating these marketing campaigns that truly resonate with an audience. In some cases, in many cases, our marketing efforts nets literally in the 60 to 80 percentile rates in terms of success. We send out 5 pieces at a time, we'll get 4 appointments. We send out 10 pieces, we'll get 6 to 7 appointments or 6 to 7 calls and the ability to sit down with a customer. So we do have a strategic plan that we put in place on how we deliver it, how we implement the program, and the follow through. And like I said, the measuring is absolutely critical. The third point is having a wrong list or the wrong target or the wrong contact. You'll notice something that kind of resonates through all these slides, and that is the prevention tactic here is doing the research. Most people, I find, don't want to go the hard yards and do the research. And those that do have a significantly greater, or I should say, higher response rates than those that do not. Most of the people that just go at these type of things willy-nilly. Now, when we talk about a targeted list, this would be more for prospecting. So if we're prospecting a certain audience, and I've seen people send things to the marketing manager or the director of HR and not have somebody specifically in mind, or they're not targeting specific vertical markets. They're trying to do a generic marketing campaign or an e-blast to everybody just to see what sticks. That, in my opinion and in my experience, is that's the wrong move. I would encourage everybody that's on the call to think a little bit more strategically about how you're going to market. Look at your current client base, segment that client base, see where, and run the sales numbers on that. Where do you have the greatest opportunity for sales? Where do you have, and in my opinion, what's one of the most important things, where's the highest profitability? You know, I'm a big believer that profits are the number one thing. I have some of the clients that I work with right now literally are running, they're not doing millions and millions of turnover a year in sales, but yet they might be doing $800,000, $900,000 in sales, but they're working at 55, 60% gross profit. And so the key is running really strong profitability. And I believe that that really comes from knowing who your customer is, focusing and targeting on, like I'm saying, these vertical and lateral markets. As I mentioned before, I'm not speaking to you as a theorist. This isn't something that I learned in school. Believe me when I tell you, I've made a lot of mistakes and I've learned along the way. I made a ton of mistakes along the way and nearly gone bankrupt multiple times. But one of the things that I did realize early on is that when I started to develop these vertical and lateral markets and I really knew who my contacts were and I knew specifically what the pain points were of that vertical or lateral market, the thing was my name, I should say, and my company became viral in that space. Hospitality was one of my biggest clients, one of my biggest market segments. The construction industry, banking and finance, and when they were strong, the internet service providers were very big users of my offerings. Now, did I sell product? Yeah, I did. And this is probably for another webinar, but I never led with product. I led with innovation, creativity, things that were different, things that set me apart from my competition. So again, one of the critical things here, third point, making sure that you have the right targeted list and make sure that you have the right contact that you're targeting. The critical points here, research your information before you do your mailing or whatever your marketing effort is. Number two, develop these core vertical markets, and I recommend to the people that I work with to develop between 3 and 5 core vertical markets and really focus on those. And I believe that the people that focus on those vertical markets, once again, they begin to own that category and that you can become viral in that space. One of the things that I came to understand as well is that when you own a category like that, it can go beyond your normal borders. When I had my marketing company, we were actually doing business with people in Canada, although that is North America, but I had customers in South Africa. I had customers in Europe that I was doing work with because my name became viral in that space, as I mentioned. So again, that thing is, that's very important to make sure that you have the right targeted or contact list. Number 4, and this is very interesting. This goes to the point that I was mentioning a moment ago about not being able to follow up timely. The follow through is not being timely. So, you know, we have this great effort that we put forth to market our companies and however we go about doing that. But sometimes, you know, we get busy. I hear these excuses all the time. Well, I meant to follow up, but I got busy. I couldn't get to it. I'm going to get to it tomorrow. Every day that it lags, guess what? The person either loses interest or they begin to forget about you. you have to create, going back to point 2, you have to create a protocol. Now, when we put our marketing campaigns together, one of the things that is most important to us is understanding the size of the company. So what I mean by that is your company. So if you have 7 people working in your office, and you have the ability to market, mail, call X number of people a day, then you can adjust that. But a lot of times, like in the States, we have a lot of 1- and 2-person companies that actually own these small, what we call mom and pop shops, which is fine. But somebody like that, if they have 50 people that they're targeting, it's impossible for you to follow up on all 50 in a reasonable amount of time. So the protocol would be send out 5 pieces, follow up on those 5 pieces thoroughly, those 5 customers thoroughly, or those prospects. And then once you've satisfied that, send the next 5 out and do the same thing. This system that we're talking about, or this protocol, is really, really important. It was interesting, every time I build a marketing piece, I write a 5 to 6 page protocol for people to follow. It has the FAQs on it, things that you need to be aware of, why we put this piece together, et cetera, et cetera. And I was working with one of my clients, and he said, you know what, I wasn't having any success, but I realized eventually the reason why I didn't have the success is because I didn't follow the protocol. So now I trust the protocol. And so if you create the protocol and you stick by it, it really makes it huge. Now, one of the things I'd like to really stress here is that if you do something correctly 20 times in a row, following the protocol 20 times, and then you break stride from the protocol on the 21st time, the first 20 times don't matter. It's really important for you to trust the protocol that you've developed and follow the protocol. And the more you do that, the more systematic it becomes, the easier it flows, the easier it is to translate to others in your organization. Sometimes you're going to have to modify that. You may have to, like for instance, if you're sending out 5 pieces and then all of a sudden you have all this business coming in from your current clients, and now all of a sudden you have these 5 people that you're targeting and you're getting extra workload put on you, extra quoting that you need to do. You might have to modify the protocol and say, okay, the next time the next batch goes out, I'm only going to send it to 2, or I'm going to send it to 3. But you have the ability to modify that. It is very important. And by doing all of this, you really start to develop some really good time management skills. And guess what? When you decide that you're going to do a marketing campaign and you're going to launch it, the critical thing is nothing gets in the way of that. You set that protocol that says on Tuesday from 9 to 10 o'clock, I'm going to follow up on the pieces that I had done on Friday. Nothing gets in the way of that. You follow up with those 5 people, and you follow that protocol. You ask those questions, and we'll get into a little bit more of that in a few minutes. But again, it's very, very important that you, again, follow through in a very timely manner. Otherwise, you lose the person completely. Number 5, lack of sales skills in order to close the deal. Now, this is important. Oftentimes, customers. It was interesting. I had a client once, and we built a marketing piece for them, and they said, "Yeah, we sent everything out. It was 10 salespeople. Each salesperson got 10 of these particular products, and it was targeted to certain prospects." And I remember saying to the one individual, I said, "So, how was the how did the marketing piece work for you?" She said, "Well, it was okay, but the reality is nobody bought anything." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She says, "Well, I sent it out to 10 people, and I wound up getting 6 calls, and I had 6 appointments, but nobody bought anything." Well, the thing to remember is that marketing is designed to open the door. It's that simple. Your sales ability, or lack thereof, to close the deal is a whole nother situation. So I encourage people that, number one, if you, and again, it's really tough when we start talking about just selling product and things like that. It's really tough because it's kind of hard to believe in selling a pen. But if you believe in conceptual selling and the things that we can do that can just rise ourselves above the normal game, that passion for what you do, that becomes infectious. And people really, I believe that people really buy into that. I mean, for instance, people generally don't barrack for a losing team. They want to really barrack for someone that's a winner. And I think the same thing holds true when we start talking about it on the sales side. People want to know that you're passionate about what you do and that you believe in what you do and that you have the right sales skills to be able to help them navigate through the issue. Are you asking the right questions? Are you helping the client make the right, if it's a product, make the right product selection? Are you asking enough questions to be able to get to that particular point? So again, I believe that the lack of sales skill comes from upping your game. Like today, all of you that are on this call, I'm going to tell you that you're taking time away from your day. And hopefully you'll walk away from this and say, you know what, I really did gain something from that. I really learned something that was significant. Even if it's one little nugget that you can translate into something that'll help you help a customer, then you know what, this time that you've spent on the phone has been amazing. It's been purposeful. How much time do you spend on really honing your sales skills? For those of you who have sales staffs, how much time do you put into, or how much money do you allocate towards making sure that even your most seasoned salespeople are updated on education, updated on the things that are happening in the market space, updated on product safety issues, all of these things that can positively or adversely affect your business. So being able to have all of these skills, continually educate yourself through things like the newsletter, the blogs, podcasting, any type of coaching that you may get, anything that you can do to up your game from an educational standpoint is absolutely huge. Now, one of the things from a presentation standpoint that I'm a big believer in, and that is the Toastmasters. I know that there's Toastmasters in the Australasian market. I've actually researched it there myself. But for those of you who are not involved in that, I highly recommend that you do this. This gives you a great way to actually stretch yourself, to learn better presentation skills, better ways to communicate with people on the fly. So again, being able to have these sales skills to be able to close the deal once marketing has opened it is really another critical component. Number 6, poor timing and or doing nothing. Once again, we get back to, how do we prevent this? It's by doing the research. You need to pick a launch date. Pick a time when you say, this is when I'm going to start it. And then again, going back to what we talked about earlier, being able to adjust it. I've had one particular marketing campaign that we've done for one of my largest customers called Thanks for Penciling Me In. And what's interesting about that piece is it's very inexpensive, but it's highly effective, to the point where most of the people within the organization that I consult for are seeing anywhere between 70 and 80% appointment rate. It's ridiculous. But the thing is, I'll call people and they'll go, I'll say, well, how's everything going? It's pretty good. I said, well, what's happening? Well, you know what? My sales are down. And I go, well, I noticed here that you ordered that campaign, Thanks for Penciling Me In. How many of those have you sent out? Well, I bought 25 of them and I've only sent out 2. Trust me when I tell you, that is doing nothing. You do nothing. Things that sit on your shelf, things that are not part of a plan and a protocol, things that are going to get launched and put into place, do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. So it is important that if you're going to do something, really be committed to it. Otherwise, I would tell you, just don't even do it. Don't even take the time to put it together. So poor timing or doing it at the wrong time. So for instance, doing a marketing campaign, I've seen people that have done marketing campaigns for that tie into sporting events that are done late. It's ineffective. It's almost like going to a trade fair, asking a vendor to send you some samples or catalogs or whatnot, and because you have a client that's very excited about getting it, and all of a sudden it comes 3 weeks late or 4 weeks later. It's really ineffective. So again, to avoid the poor timing and or doing nothing, the prevention tactic would be to do your ample research. Pick a correct launch date for this, and again, adjust when it's needed. And then do something. You know, doing nothing, complaining about how things are not working, they're not getting ahead, is not a good tactic. The reality is you're going to want to do something. Have an effective plan. In fact, most of the people that I work with, we actually sit down, let's say in the month of November, and we will sit and do our strategic plan for the entire upcoming year. We know what we're going to do, who we're going to target, what the piece is going to be, how it's going to be implemented, how we're going to follow up, how we're going to track that thing. And I would tell you, those are the people that are the most effective. Those are the people that have the highest sales revenues. Those are the ones that have the highest profitability. So again, you can't go around doing things the same way it's always been done. Otherwise, you know, it's like what Einstein says. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It will not change. You have to take the time to make these necessary changes. And again, by creating a better timeline and doing something and having a strategic plan in place really makes a huge difference in your business. The seventh thing, the reality is some of the things are just out of your control, that you just cannot control it. Sometimes it's the lack or desire or need from the client. And a lot of times it's just not the right time. Strategically, you're just not the right time. You need to make sure that you're qualifying the prospect correctly. When we talked about interviewing and asking the proper questions, or like I like to call the quality questions, really will help you tremendously. Ensure that you have the right target audience. Make sure that it's specific, that you're addressing their pain points. I'll give you an example. You know, some things are out of your control. How many of you have ever had the occasion when you've called a client, or excuse me, a prospect, and the prospect has said to you, you know what, yeah, we really appreciate the call, but we're happy with who we're doing business with. Okay, that may be at the time, it's not the right time. It may not be the right person at that very moment. But the reality is, does it mean that it's over? Most people will take a pen and scratch through the name and off to the next person. What do you do? What is the strategy that you have in place that once that person says to you, you know what, we're happy with our current vendor, so you know we really don't have a need. Do you scratch them off your list? Or what is the next step? What is your next protocol? What are you going to do next to make sure that that person realizes that you're the individual that they need to talk to? What kind of marketing do you do for that? We created an amazing campaign called Second Isn't Last. And it's a very simple mailer. And I encourage my customers that you have a stack of these. It's merely a postcard in a clear envelope that has a fiber optic cloth attached to it that basically says, and it has some colorful graphics on it and whatnot, and it says, you know, second isn't last. The last time we spoke, you said you were happy with your current vendor, and we appreciate that loyalty. But we know sometimes things happen, so we would love to be your second choice. How many people do that? How many people create yet another touch point to say, thank you for your call, but I just want to let you know that if anything happens, we'd love to be the second choice that you come to. Because guess what? We all know that things happen. Things fall apart. But you want to be top of mind. You want to be there when that one critical moment happens, that bang, they need somebody, and that piece has come across their desk or whatnot, and all of a sudden they can reach out and call you. Now, this is a great case history. One of the clients that I work with, she bought into the whole concept, and she was telling me a story that exact thing happened to her. She called up a client. It was a major construction company in the state of Arizona. And the guy said, you know, I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy with who we're doing business with, and I'm just not interested. And she said, okay, no problem. She goes, if you don't mind, I'm going to send you something in the mail. He goes, yeah, whatever. You know, trying to get her off the phone. And so she sent this piece out. 4 days later or 3 days later, the guy called her and he said, you know what? I got your piece, and it was interesting. My current vendor can't deliver. Do you think we can have a conversation? This young lady told me that she had a $30,000 order come through because of that $2 marketing piece. Now, at the time, there wasn't a need. There wasn't a desire on the client's part. But guess what? I suggest to you, don't give up. Keep moving forward. Keep pressing with your customers in a very positive way, reaching out to them. Make sure that the people that you're sending the thing to, or if you're sending a marketing piece, whether it's a marketing campaign or a constant contact e-blast or a letter or a postcard, doesn't matter. Make sure that it's targeted properly. You target it to the wrong person, guess what? It doesn't make any sense. If you're not asking enough questions to understand what the client's real needs are, guess what? There's no desire there. You know, you're targeting the wrong person. So if you have the right audience and it's specific and you're marketing to the pain points, what matters to them, not what you're trying to sell to them, not what the latest special is, but what matters to them. If you understand that and your marketing message can resonate with that pain point, you have a much greater opportunity of really making a huge, huge difference in the mind's eye of the client. I share these 7 points with you because I have made all of these problems I have done. I've done, shame to say it, but I've done it more than once. But I do realize that by creating all the things that we had talked about, you know, for instance, you know, having the right message, having a protocol in place, making sure that I have the correct contact or I have the right targeted list, I follow through in a timely manner, and that I'm constantly doing what I can to upgrade my sales skills so that when I do get that opportunity to talk to someone, that excuse me, that I can deliver the very, very best presentation. And I make sure that, again, back to the protocol, that I'm doing this on a very religious, timely basis so that it becomes almost habitual with my audience and with my staff. This is very important. And I also, you know, I hold myself accountable 100%, but also give myself a hall pass from the standpoint that I know that, you know, what I do is not for everybody. Now, I'm not, when I was selling, I wasn't a product guy. I drove my business more on the creative side. I wanted people to understand that while I had the ability to do product, my real focus and where my real strength was helping you achieve your goals with creative marketing that you could not find in the catalog, did not have a discount code on it, but I did things that would resonate yet with your audience. And I demonstrated this, obviously, through the marketing efforts that I put together. So that said, we're kind of wrapping up here, about 45 minutes, and I'm happy to take any questions. If you don't have any questions, that's fine. You can feel free to email me at any time. At the end of this slide, you'll see my, my contact information. You're more than happy to send it to me, and feel free, obviously, to reach out to me on LinkedIn and or Facebook. But the final thoughts and takeaways here are, make sure that you develop a strategic marketing plan now. It was interesting. I did a survey of promotional marketing companies, and I asked the question, how many of you here have a marketing plan? And I must have asked over about a 6-month period, I must have interviewed about more than 1,000 companies. And it was interesting that about 30% of the people that I've interviewed said that they had a plan. But what was a real shocker is that of those 30%, only 3% had it written down. And the question is, how do you really, these people that say I've got the plan in my head, I know what I'm doing, they're kidding themselves. You need to create a strategic marketing plan. Have it written down. Have it committed to paper. I don't care if you're a 1-person shop or if you're a 20-person shop, especially if you're a 20-person shop. Everybody needs to be on the same page so that they're all rowing in the same direction. So make sure that you develop a strategic marketing plan now. Consider strongly the ability, the opportunity to create your unique market position, either going vertically or laterally. And let me just reiterate, vertical markets are those things like sports, hospitality, banking and finance. That would be your vertical markets. Lateral markets would be HR, marketing, C-level, public relations. And so if you understand the nuances of each of those, I tell you, and I've done it, and I've seen a lot of other people that have done it that I've worked with. The success is just remarkable when you can get focused. And why is that important? Because you get to know the market. You know the nuances of that market. When you're talking, like when I used to go in and talk to a food and beverage manager at a restaurant or at a hotel, I spoke their language. I understood the things that they were going through. I understood all the challenges that were faced. Why? Because, well, number one, I had a background in it from the past. But I was able to communicate at a different level than the person that was going in there just trying to sell them something. I was actually able to help them solve a problem. Third point, know your markets and know your clients. The internet is a nemesis, but yet is one of the most powerful tools that we have in terms of doing research, finding out information on specific customers, on specific clients, on specific industries. We have the ability to do that. And the fourth point here is establish a protocol. And this all ties back into the marketing. If I have a marketing plan, and I know I'm going to go A, B, C, and D, have a protocol that says, when I implement A, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and then follow that protocol. Trust the protocol. Even when you don't get results on the front end of it, just keep banging away and just trust the protocol. You'll be amazed at how much more effective your marketing will be. And of course, you have the ability, when you see something going a little bit sideways, you can always tweak it and adjust it as you go along. The last thing here, not quite the last thing, but I'm a believer that passion is amazing. I ask people at my seminars all the time, how many of you like what you do? And everybody raises their hand. And how many of you love what you do? You know, a lot of people raise their hand. But I said, really, how many of you are passionate about what you do? I mean, I remember going to rugby test match watching Jonah Luma play, and I was amazed, absolutely amazed at the passion and the fervor that went on in those stands. And I tell you what, if people have often commented to me about when I deliver a presentation live or when I'm talking to someone about a marketing campaign that I really believe in, I've become very passionate about it. And that passion is infectious, folks. And I encourage you to think about that. So the last final thought that I'm going to give you today is this is your world. The reality is you need to shape it or somebody else is going to shape it for you. You have the ability to change the direction of your business, move the needle forward, create some amazing opportunities for yourself. Do things different. In this business, unfortunately, we have a lot of people doing the same thing. The internet, like I said, is a nemesis in one way because guess what? Our buyers are getting younger. At the end of the day, if all we're doing is selling product to our clients, they really don't need you. They can find it on the web. And there again, there are people in the market space that are willing to sell this stuff at cost plus 5%. And the thing is, how do we elevate our game? How do we do things different? How do we get people to see us for what we are, but in a different light? How do we bring that to the table? And part of it has to do with our marketing, how consistent we are with the marketing, how unique our marketing is. All of those things play a tremendous part in how effective or ineffective we can be as we grow our businesses moving forward. That said, we've crested on about 46 minutes now, and I try to keep it to about that time. I want to thank everybody for participating in today's webinar on 7 reasons why marketing fails and how to prevent it. I know that Kate will be back on the line here in a minute. I don't necessarily see here that there were any questions, which is fine. But if you do have any questions that you want to send to me offline, that's my email address, cliff@quicksellconsulting.com. That's my mobile number, and I apologize I didn't put the country code on that. I should have done that for you. But if you need to reach out to me at any time or call at any time, I'm happy to answer and entertain any questions you might have. But it would be nice for the group, if you do have any questions, to make sure that you email them to me so that we can get them back out. So since I don't see any questions, Kate, if you're there, if you want to come back on, and if you have anything that you want to say, or if anybody's asked you anything, I'm happy to answer it for you.
Hi, Cliff. Yep, I'm back. One question has just come through. What's the best way to restart a marketing program? Do you want to answer that now, or should we put that in writing?
No, I can answer. Can you answer the question one more time?
Yeah, what's the best way to restart a marketing program?
To restart a marketing program? I don't know that I quite understand that.
Okay, I might just get some more information and we can send it through to you. And we'll just include a Q&A in the link that I send to you tomorrow with the recording for it. So, okay, well that's the only question so far. So thank you, Cliff, for a fantastic presentation. That was great. And thank you everyone else for attending today's webinar. As Cliff said, if you do have any other questions, feel free to contact him, or you can send them to me and I'll forward them to him. And on behalf of Cliff and APPA, thanks for joining us today and have a great afternoon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kate.